What is going on, guys? Adrian here from Losh TV, and welcome to day 11 of Losh. And yes, my voice is shot. We went to a concert last night. We went to the Jonas Brothers' first stop on their tour. Probably the best concert I've been to. Complete sidebar, of course, but it was great. Demi Lovato came out. Jesse McCartney was there. The whole family sung together, which was crazy. Family and all. Like dad, daughters, everyone came out. It was beautiful. Fantastic concert there at MetLife. And then yeah, so my voice is a little shot, but hey, we're gonna get straight into this video. This is going to be part 2 of my rankings of HHN houses. So this is going to be 75 through 51. If you didn't see 100 through 76, go ahead and check that out. I released it last Monday. So check that video out and let me know what you guys think over there. But we're gonna dive straight into this one, the best way I know how. Number 75, we have Beetlejuice. Now Beetlejuice we had twice at the event, technically. So we had it at HHN Light for a weekend, and then we had it for the entire run of 30. When we had it at Light, I loved it. When we had it at 30, I was kind of like on the fence about it. I wasn't 100% sure if I liked it or not, or if it was just another house at the event. But looking back on it, I feel like it was a really fun house to go through. If I compare it to things like Ghostbusters or Killer Clowns, I think it's a fun house. But if I compare it to other houses that were featured at 30, I kind of just feel like it falls flat in comparison. But all in all, I did have a good time going through this house, so that's why it's here at 75. And at 74, we have some puppets. We have Fiesta de Chupacabras from HHN 2022. So Chupacabras was actually a pretty fun set designed house. So it was basically set in South Americas, and truly I loved all the little architecture they had going on. The facade was cool, seeing the mountainside of a house, hearing fireworks going off. It was a fun thing. I wasn't a big fan of the design of the Chupacabras, but I do think that it was a very fun house to do nonetheless. Now we move to my number 73, and this is a house from my early years of HHN. We have From Dusk Till Dawn. So From Dusk Till Dawn was kind of just another house to me, if I'm being 100% honest. So I really wanted this to be the movie, but we got the El Rey TV series. And don't get me wrong, they're almost identical. However, there's some things that were cut out. The facade of this house, for example, was the twister, not the titty twister. But all in all, I still think this house was a great house to see because it's something that we're probably never going to see again. I would love to see the original From Dusk Till Dawn film become an HHN house, but with how much HHN has done vampires and venomous creatures like that, I don't think they'll touch this again, but they might. So there is that possibility of that happening. We now move to number 72, and this is from HHN 23. We have Afterlife, Death's Vengeance. Now, this was a 3D house, and this was the first 3D house I ever did. Truthfully, I thought this house was fantastic at the time. However, there's other houses that have come along the way that have made me realize that that house was just okay. But this house is what made me fall in love with 3D houses altogether. This house was just fabulous. Everything I needed in this was there. I wish we would get another 3D house, but hey, I'm just going to keep saying that until the wheels fall off. But that house was great. After that, we have a house from HHN 25 at number 71, Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. So Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears was the Run iteration that was featured at the 25th anniversary of HHN. This house was really cool because it had different sections. It was basically a game, not a game, but like a televised game. So it was cool to see like the different countries and going in and seeing how things are set. We had the electricity room, we had America being represented by candy, we had the geishas. I just think all in all it was cool. The only thing to me that this house was missing that it didn't have was Eddie, but that's okay because we got Eddie in the future. But here, kind of sucks that we didn't get him. And now we move to number 70, which is Stranger Things 4 from HHN 2023. Now this house was really beautiful. However, I feel like it is one of the weakest Stranger Things houses that we've ever had. Now, a lot of people like to complain about Stranger Things 2. I feel like this house wasn't even as good as Stranger Things 2. I hope that makes sense. But I feel like Stranger Things 2 for us was a good house to see. We had a lot of physical sets that were huge. Here in this one, we had the Creole house, which was nice, the Vecna's lair scene, but outside of that, I feel like the house was just okay. Granted, I know by a lot of people they preferred this house, but it wasn't my favorite. Now we move to number 69, excellent. It is The Fallen from HHN 27, which is kind of funny because 69, Bill and Ted, that was their last year, 2017. Nonetheless, The Fallen was beautiful. It is one of my friend Connor FL's favorite houses he's ever done. It was, if I'm not mistaken, his first house. I could be wrong there, but that house was glorious. You had flying scare actors, you had these stained glass, you had gargoyle. It's kind of exactly what we're getting at HHN this year when you really think about it. But The Fallen was a very nice house to see. It was visually pleasing. However, it's just not as great as everything else to me. Now we move to number 68, and this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre from HHN 30. Huge leap to me from this house to the 2016 house. So the 2016 house to me, as you guys know already, I said it in my last video, I was not a fan of it. This one, I honestly found myself consistently going through it. It was great. The smells were atrocious, which is what you want to hear or smell. And the scares were good. It wasn't just the first film, it was a compilation of little things from along the way, which was really cool because we got to see Chop Top, we got to see most of the other Sawyer family members. And the end of this house with the chain link fences and the chainsaws truly added a layer that was almost unseen when you come to HHN, and it was great. I loved it a lot. Now we move to number 67, and at 67 we have Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate. Now this house, I wanted this house to be perfect, but I did love it. Don't get me wrong, I love this house. I wanted it to be perfect. I did love the fact that we had the dual exit, so you can either choose going Blizz Rock or Pie Rock. And truthfully, I think this house is in a league of its own when it comes down to set design. Being able to walk through Merlinwood again, walk through the castle, basically walk through the queue of Dueling Dragons while going into a haunted house was truly a 10 out of 10 experience. And I wish they would do this again with Poseidon's Fury. I would love to see us be able to walk through a past attraction as a haunted house. Maybe Darkenon is taken over, but let me not get on that. Dueling Dragons is great. I just wish there was more of the dragons themselves. That makes sense. We now move to number 66, and I have Yeti Campground Kills from HHN 2023. So Campground Kills, basically, the best way to explain this is Friday the 13th with Yetis. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It is a good house. It was fun to see. I know that this won House of the Year that year. I believe it should have been a different house, but I digress. I do think that this house was good. We now move to number 65, and this is Goblin's Feast from last year's HHN. This house was hilarious. And I mean, this is classic HHN to me, because you have a little bit of comedy in there, and then you have a lot of gore horror, and then you have beautiful set designs. This house should have been higher for me. However, the biggest setback for me was the fact that this house was a little too short. Those tents are massive back there. And I really hope that this year, with Fallout being in that same tent, they utilize the entire tent to give us a fantastic house. But I will say, if Goblin's Feast was a little bit longer, I think it will be a little bit better for me. Now moving to number 64, we go to 2018, and we have Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So, Halloween 4. The first time I went through this house, I did not like it at all. This house was located in the Shrek queue. And now, I know Shrek queue is tough to have houses in. However, there were a few houses in here that were fantastic, like Krampus, like Case Files. We'll get to those later in this video, but, well, not in this one, actually, in the next ones. But nonetheless, you can do a great house in the Shrek queue, but it's just the little things. Like Halloween 4 kind of felt like it was using minimal space. It wasn't great. But hey, I enjoyed it a lot more than some of these houses that I've been through. Now moving to number 63, we have The Horrors of Blumhouse from HHN 2022. Now The Horrors of Blumhouse, this was the one that featured the Black Phone and Freaky. If this was just a house based on the Black Phone, it would be a 10 out of 10 experience. However, including Freaky in there kind of made it just lackluster, in my opinion. Freaky just felt like a rushed portion of a haunted house, and the Black Phone felt like a full-fledged house, because nonetheless it was in a tent, and like the entire Black Phone section was in a tent, and the Freaky portion was just in the Fast and Furious queue. So it kind of didn't feel like a full-on love to the property like the other Blumhouse houses, but it was there. And now moving to number 62, we have Stranger Things from HHN 29. Now this house, like I said earlier when I talked about Stranger Things 4, it was okay in comparison to the first house, but this house had really good set design. You had a giant mind flayer at the end. You had the actual arcade booths when you walked up that had Will outside. I mean, all in all, I think this house was good, but it wasn't great. It's not one of the great houses that we've ever done at HHN. It is definitely one of the houses that we've done at HHN. And now moving to number 61, we go to HHN 26, and we have The Walking Dead. This was the year we had every single season featured inside of the haunted house. So we had from season 1 all the way to season 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it's one of those two. And it was cool to see like little highlights to the past houses that I've done. It kind of felt like an anniversary house without it being an anniversary house. So I saw everything from 23 all the way to 25, except for the hot tub zombies, thank God, in this house. So it was cool to see. And now at number 60, we have a house that I really should have hated, if we're being 100% honest. So this is The Purge from HHN 25. Originally this was supposed to be Scream. You can see it from the entire walkthrough. It is ridiculous how crazy that is. But I will say, they did an amazing job retrofitting this house to make it a Purge house, truthfully. So if I would have gone through this house without knowing that it was supposed to be Scream and without having that prior knowledge and just going through this as a Purge house, I think it would have been a fantastic experience. Because The Purge, when this movie came out and this house happened, it was truly just the invasion, like the first movie, and the street experience. So this was essentially different locations with the Purge attached to it. So it kind of just felt like an original Purge house, and it was cool to see. I mean, I didn't hate it. I was upset that we lost one of my dream properties and got the Purge instead, but I did enjoy this house. I didn't let that blind me from the fact that we had a good haunted house at the event, no matter what. And now moving to number 59, we go to HHN 26. It is Ghost Town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch. Where's My Gold? The famous HHN quote came from this house. This was a really cool thing to see. It was the last time we had a Western house until this year with Hatchet and Chains, but nonetheless, I think this house was beautifully set designed, and it was a very good house to go through. I just know that the biggest consistent issue for me was this house had a lot of dead space, but that's kind of what you were going for in this because it's supposed to be a desolate ghost town. Nonetheless, I do think this house was fabulous and a 10 out of 10 experience. Now we move to number 57. Staying with HHN 26, we have Halloween Hell Comes to Haddonfield. This was when they put Halloween in a parade building. The facade outside was the big marquee for Halloween 2. This house was essentially Halloween 2 without being called Halloween 2. They just wanted to give it a different tagline. This house was beautiful. You had the sets from the film. You had the different scenes. My favorite scene in this house is the nurse getting dunked into the water tank and the fog coming up because it's supposed to be burning her face. It was a really cool thing to see. Now I will say this as a little tiny sidebar. The house in Hollywood for this same thing had a finale scene that was fantastic. It had the pumpkins on the wall and they would come down and they were all synced up to Mr. Sandman. That was a great house to see. Never got to see it myself, but I've heard it was great. And now, moving from one slasher to two, we have at number 56, Freddy vs. Jason from HHN 25. This house, when I first went through it, and the first few times I went through it, I thought was a fantastic house. And honestly, it was in my top 15 for a very long time. However, with other houses, it slowly started to shift down more and more. And truthfully, I would love to see, now I'm happy we're seeing Jason again. I would love to see Freddy again, just because I feel like both of them are iconic. They have their own iconic scenes, iconic kills, and it's been so long since we've seen either of them at the event. Now it's been 10 years? Yeah, 10 years since the last time we've seen them both. So it's nice that we're gonna see Jason this year, which leaves me hopeful to a potential of seeing Freddy in a few years, maybe hopefully. But in this house, we got to go through Elm Street, we got to go through Camp Crystal Lake, we had scenes that was from Freddy vs. Jason, and then we had original scenes that were made just for this house. It was a great experience, 10 out of 10 there. Now we move to number 55, which takes us to HHN 29. And here we have Jordan Peele's Us. Now this house had a beautiful facade, And you wouldn't believe me if I told you this if you went through this house without any knowledge. This house was flipped over within 2 months. This was supposed to be something else and ended up being us instead. I have no complaints about it because I think it is phenomenal and it led to a great lineup for that year's event. But nonetheless, I do feel like us had this great eerie vibe. Now, whenever you have a house in that exact location where this was, you have a long walkway into the house. So if you looked up, you had the lights above you and there were the carnival lights. And as soon as you turned the corner, you saw the giant facade of the wizard. It was just really cool. I loved it so much. And truthfully, I feel like this house, any other year, wouldn't have been as loved as it was in 29 because 29 was just stacked with IPs. Now I move to number 54 and we are here at 2017, HHN 27. We have The Shining. This essentially allowed the creative team to bring to life the iconic Stanley Kubrick film. It was cool to see the Grady twins. It was cool to see the blood elevator scene. It was cool to see, I believe it's called the Gold Room, where it was essentially the bar where Danny goes and there's all the old dancers. It was nice because everyone seemed like a mannequin when you walked into this room. And then they all just light switch. They all start dancing and moving towards you. It was a crazy room scene to see back then. Truthfully, I think this house is a standout of HHN 27 and will always be remembered for the little things. Now, staying with 2017, we have at number 53, Dead Waters, which to me has one of the best Halloween Horror Nights facades of all time. You have the giant riverboat sunken in. This house was essentially a sequel, I think it just was a sequel in general, to Bayou of Blood, the scare zone from 2014 for the Voodoo Queen. So seeing the evolution of this character, her return, was really cool because she's essentially a minor icon, just an iconic character, but them giving her this house truly meant that they saw something in her. Now, I do say the one complaint I have about this house, probably the only complaint I have about this house realistically, is that it kind of just ends abruptly. It's not like houses where to have a grand finish. This just abruptly ends, which kind of sucks, but nonetheless, I have hope that we see something from this property again at some point. And now moving to number 52, we have An American Werewolf in London from HHN 25. If you guys recall, I did not do this house in 2013, which was my first year, but I will say I do think this house was fantastic. It made me fall in love with puppetry in a house. So of course there was different houses that I went through that had puppets, but none of them were on the same level of these werewolves that they had at HHN 25. Truthfully, I feel like this was the stepping stone for a lot of houses to get their footing. I think that if it weren't for American Werewolf in London, we wouldn't have had a lot of the houses that we have now when it comes down to grand style look and scares and truthfully bringing an IP to life. And finally, at number 51, we have AVP Alien vs. Predator from HHN 24. Now, saying everything that I just said about American Werewolf in London with the puppets, this house xenomorph puppets were truly beautiful, and this was a pipe dream house for a lot of people. Now, granted, this was my second year of the event, so it didn't properly register to me then that we're never gonna see something like this again. And now that Disney owns both Alien and Predator franchises, we're probably never gonna see anything like this again, which really blows. But seeing this house with my own eyes, seeing the Predators go ahead and transform in front of you with the camouflage and then going to full scale, it was crazy. Truthfully, as not a fan of the movie, this house is the reason that I enjoy looking back at this movie sometimes because it reminds me of how good this haunted house was. And there you guys go. That is part 2 of my top 100 rankings of every HHN house that I've ever been through. And somehow by the end of this video, I've gotten my voice back. I guess yapping gets me through it. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do me a huge favor and give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite HHN houses have been, what your least favorite HHN houses have been. Subscribe if you guys already haven't done so. And stay excellent, my dudes.